What's up, everybody? We're back as promised. Week 18. 17 was pretty entertaining for most obvious reasons. One, there was a lot of antics on the field. There was a lot of great football that were played. There was a lot of teams that, if you are part of those teams, that clinch a lot of important things. If you're a Jaguars fan, congratulations. You're almost the lock of the number one pick. But if you're a couple of other teams, then you are in the playoffs. Where you are, we'll talk about that in a minute. There's a couple descriptions down there. One, it's all the social medias where you can go and follow us if you would like. And two, there are some cool little bonuses for you. So if you want to get into social media, I'm Matt at Beard Laws. You can follow me if you want, but definitely follow these guys.
Please follow me, please. Brandon J. McDermott.
And you can follow me, Matt Brown, at the Johanna Jones.
Just a quick little recap of who's in, who's out. In the AFC, the division leaders are Tennessee, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Buffalo. And in the wild card race, you have New England, Indy, the Chargers, the Raiders. Technically, I guess, maybe Baltimore, Pittsburgh, but I just go ahead and count them out. In the NFC, Green Bay is currently the 1 seed. They're locked in. The Rams, number 2 currently. Tampa's 3, Dallas 4, Arizona 5, and Philly has clinched a playoff spot as the 7 currently. Only 1 spot left in the NFC. San Francisco has a chance to get in there. New Orleans has a chance to get in there. And the rest of them are just hanging out waiting for the NFL draft.
We'll definitely chat about or talk about or, people quitting at halftime, I'm sure. But week 18, 2 teams in the AFC are going to get in, 2 more teams, 1 more team in the NFC is going to get in. And we get to finish week 18 with some huge rivalry games. And not only that, we're going to get into some of these lines are just as big as the games that they're playing.
Yeah, and I also like in the AFC side, who will be playing for that number 1 seed? Like, who will be trying as hard as they can? We may talk about that as we go throughout these picks.
Good news is we're going to be back and we're going to continue to do playoff predictions because we've been on fire. But either way, who's counting? Let's get right into this with the first game that we have is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on Brandon's beloved Denver Broncos, and the Kansas City Chiefs are a 9.5 point away favorite.
All it takes is 1 loss to really change an entire season. And the Chiefs were in control of their own destiny and had to win last week to stay in control of that number 1 seed in the AFC. They ended up losing to the upstart Bengals, and now they're in need of a win to get that first round bye in the playoffs. And in juicy fashion, it's against the hated Broncos, who really have 0 to play for. They're not in the playoff contention. They're officially out. But how delicious would it be if those Broncos sent those Kansas City Chiefs tumbling down the standings even further, heading into the playoffs? All right, I'm going to wake up from La La Land. It's not happening. The Chiefs are going to win, mostly because Denver's terrible.
Well, I'm not convinced that the Chiefs will go all out till the end in this one. Yes, they will go 100% to win this game, but once it's in hand, I'm not sure they'll care about a 2-score lead as long as they know they'll win. But even so, can the Broncos keep up offensively? No. Division rivalry or not, I still like the Chiefs to win by a sizable margin here.
It's been pretty crazy to see kind of KC, the team that we knew of the past, where they jump out and just pound people and then kind of fade away there. We thought that was gone, but then you saw it last week where they had a huge lead. They let it go. And for some reason, the Cincinnati Bengals are the AFC North champions. I don't get it, but hey, that's football. I think that Kansas City is definitely going to win this game. They need to win this game. How sweet and delicious would it be if Denver, for whatever reason, can pull off an upset? I don't even care if they upset them. I like them with the points. That way, we're 100% no matter what. Let's talk about another division rival game. You got the Dallas Cowboys, 7-point road favorite, traveling to take on the Philadelphia Eagles, both teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, so this game's not going to be as juicy as the Kansas City Broncos game, mostly because Dallas lost the first round bye with a loss last week, and the Eagles are, as Matt said, already in the playoffs. It's tough to see which of these teams is going to rest more starters, even though Dallas can still play for number 3 seed instead of a 4 seed with a win. Take the Cowboys to cover if I was pressed to.
This one's rough for me, and I'm not sure I want to touch it either. Both teams are in the playoffs. Both teams might want to rest some players, so here's what I'll do. I'm looking at the backups on each side, and I can see Gardner Minshew getting a win for the Eagles, so I'll just lean Philly if I had to pick.
Yeah, I was leaning towards Philly anyways, just +7. You know what I mean? Kind of some rested starters, backups, just kind of a garbage game. So typically I would think garbage games would stay close, but then you throw in the mustache of all mustaches and how excited he was when he got that last win. Hate to say it, but the editor of this video will appreciate it. Philadelphia +7. Let's talk about the AFC North champions, the Cincinnati Bengals, a 2.5 point underdog traveling to take on the Cleveland Browns.
So those Bengals, they scratched and clawed their way back to a very impressive victory last week against Kansas City. What do they get? How about traveling to Cleveland to close out the year against your bitter rivals? Now, it's not very friendly or accommodating to them, if you ask me, but that said, the Bengals, as you said, don't really have anything to play for. They're going to rest many of those starters. I'd take the Browns to win and to cover in a meaningless game for them and to head off into the offseason with a feel-good win that nobody will remember.
How many players will the Bengals rest in this one? They're a young team, but they're faced with some injuries before, so maybe expect a preseason-like performance with the starters starting, but making an early exit just to get them warmed up for the playoffs. If so, that defensive line might be porous. So I like the Browns to run all over the place in this one and cover as long as the line is under a touchdown.
I'm going to agree with you guys here, not just to agree, but Bengals, their preseason matchup. I think maybe the starters get a little bit of some reputation, some reps in there just so they don't have too much time off, if that's even a thing in the NFL. But, let's go with the Browns at home, close the year. Then all of the Browns fans will be talking how they're going to win the Super Bowl again next year. And then by week 4, they'll realize that they still stink. You know who doesn't stink? The Green Bay Packers. NFC number 1 seed, have nothing to play for, and still 3-point favorite against the Detroit Lions in Detroit.
I don't know, Matt. Cheese is pretty stinky, so the Packers do stink in a good way, I suppose. This one opened up at -11 for the Packers, but has since changed as they locked up that first-round bye. It's fallen hard, that spread there. The Packers have exactly 0 to play for, and so, coincidentally enough, so do the Lions. They've nothing to play for, save for maybe a few spots in the NFL draft this year. I would take the Pack to cover by a touchdown.
Look, this is the last chance for bettors to put one down for everyone's favorite cover team, the Detroit Lions. And look, I know the Packers are only up 3 here and do think they won't be playing for much. What if the Lions, just hear me out, do get a 3rd win this season? What if? I'm just going to go for it. I like the Lions.
Breaking news, you heard it here first, Matt. Brown says the Lions get their 3rd win +3. I'm going with it. We've kind of ridden the coattails of the Lions the last half of the seasons, one of the best teams in the NFL against the spread. And I'm going to continue to ride it till, next week, because we can't anymore because this is their last game. So I'm going to go the Lions +3 to continue that crazy streak against the spread. Talk about the Chicago Bears taking on the Vikings. Skull! That could be the last time I do that this season because they were terrible last week, but they reward their terrible play as a 2.5-point home favorite.
Another game where neither team really has much to play for. That said, the Bears, they've won 2 straight. Since the Vikings started off so well against the spread this season, they've since buried that success under the old Metrodome. They're 3-8 over their last 11 games against the spread. I think the Bears are going to close this one out with 3 straight wins.
I don't know who'll be the quarterback on either side of this matchup. Will the Bears let Justin Fields start if he's healthy? Will Kirk Cousins play the last game of the season as he's right now in COVID protocols? I think this will be a really close game no matter what. Dare I say, a 1-point game, something that both teams have dealt with this season. Spread-wise, that means I like the Bears in this one.
You know what? Just because it's week 18, I'm going to do it. I'm going Skull. 2.5, they're gonna win because who honestly thinks the Bears can win 3 games in a row? Not this guy. And I'm going Minnesota. Go Skull. 2.5. Let's talk about another division game that I'm pretty sure nobody really cares about. The Washington football team. Could it be the last time they play as the Washington football team, taking on the New Jersey Giants in lovely MetLife Stadium?
A terrible game with nothing on the line. And if I were a smart man, I would stay away from this one, but you both know I'm not. There are too many injuries and too much unknown with both of these teams. Will both play younger players for reps going into next year, going into the offseason, knowing what they have? Who knows? But the Giants, they're bad at home against the spread, and Washington is decent against the spread over their last 8 games. So I'm taking Washington to cover.
Yeah, totally agree. Best chance for both teams to get a win at the end of the season, by the way, and I still think the Giants will disappoint. Mike Glennon just threw for 24 yards in their last game. That alone is reason enough for me to go with Washington.
That is unreal. I think I could throw for more yards upside down playing with the controller that's just like out of range in Madden. Still throw more than 24. But either way, the Giants are terrible. And I think they have a little bit more to benefit with a loss here. Maybe they can go up a spot. Either way, they're going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, especially if they lose. So I'm going to go with Washington to cover the spread here and agree with you fellas. Colts. Jaguars. Speaking of people that really want that number one spot, the Jaguars are a 15-point underdog at home.
A monster line, to be sure, mostly because the Colts, they have to play for a playoff seed here, and they're not going to be resting any of those starters. And the Jags, well, they're the Jags. I still don't think I'd feel comfortable taking a line this big, so I'm going to take those Jags, plus 15.
Look, I think this can turn out similar to what the Patriots did to the Jags this past week. 6-0 against the spread in the last 6 road games. I don't even care if they lay off the gas pedal midway through when they have the game within hand. I like the Colts no matter what the spread is.
Yeah, I'm going with the Colts by about 35 here. I think that they destroy them. And I'm going to say they get into the playoffs. You heard it here first, and they win round 1. They continue the streak. Yes, they didn't get a win last week, but this is where their second season starts with a big win versus a terrible team. And congratulations to the Jaguars. You're going to have the number 1 pick and probably screw it up again. So if you're a Jacksonville fan, we do apologize. Let's talk about another divisional game that really doesn't mean too much, except for maybe a Steelers fan. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens. Steelers are a 4.5-point underdog on the road in what is probably Big Ben's last game.
We'll probably hear more about that from Matt, the big Steelers fan here. But this could be a very interesting game heading into Week 18, which still, as Matt said earlier, sounds weird saying Week 18. Week 18. I'll get used to it. But in a rivalry game to close out the season, I'm taking the home team Ravens to win and to cover.
I know I said he'd play last week. This time, I think Lamar Jackson plays for real. I mean, between the two, at least the Ravens have more of an outside shot to get in the playoffs. The Ravens need a win and a lot of help to get into the playoffs. So they'll have their quarterback and look more complete offensively to help them win and cover it.
I'm going to go with the Steelers only because they're getting some points. It's going to be Big Ben's last game. If they have a chance, I think they go out there, they try their hardest, but there's going to be a lot of younger and there's a lot of talented people that don't necessarily want to get hurt, even though it's Big Ben's last year, but they're getting some points. It's a rivalry game. I'm going to go Steelers to cover the 4.5. I'll go with the Tennessee Titans taking on the Houston Texans in Tennessee. 10.5 points for a chance to be the number 1 AFC.
You know, get this. The Titans minus Derrick Henry, they sit at number 1 in the AFC following the collapse of the Chiefs last week. Add that to the news that Henry could be back this week, fingers crossed, of course, and this could be a tasty matchup. The Texans, they're awfully bad, and the Titans, when rolling, they're a scary playoff team. Look, I don't care what people say. A running team with a decent defense has a step up, that is, on a high-powered offense with an average defense. And I'm looking at you, Kansas City. I see the Titans taking control early and riding a nice victory and cover all the way to the playoffs.
Everyone will be wondering if Derrick Henry will make a return in this game to tune up for the playoffs. I will be wondering if the Texans will be able to rekindle the offense they had helped beat with the Jags and the Chargers a few weeks ago. I think they can. Look, 5-2 against the spread in their last 7, and I think they'll be able to just cover in this one. Of course, they won't win, but maybe covered.
Well, split decision here. I'm going to go Tennessee. I think that they're firing all cylinders. They are not going to ruin a chance to give up that number 1 seed. I think they're going to get a big early. Maybe the Texans scrap their way back in, but 10.5, I think it's still a little bit too low. I like Tennessee to cover the spread. Let's go with New Orleans taking out Atlanta. New Orleans is definitely going to need a win. They're a 4.5-point favorite on the road.
Atlanta is officially out, but at 8-8, the Saints aren't, as Matt said, quite yet at least. They have a tough hill to climb. They need to win, and they need the Rams to beat the Niners. I suppose that's really not that tough of a hill to climb, but if it's your hill to win, then it's a lot easier than having to deal with somebody else and watching on TV, hoping somebody else is going to do your job for you. Such is life at 8-8. With Atlanta being 0-6 against the spread at home this season, I'm taking those Saints to win on the road.
Look, the Saints have an outside shot at a playoff spot, so they'll be going all out. And when I think of going all out, one of the players I think of is Taysom Hill. I think this is the perfect opportunity for a signature performance in the way that only Taysom Hill can deliver. I like the Saints a lot here.
Yeah, I'm with you guys too. I mean, Matt Ryan has the potential to put up a big game. The Falcons, they're just not a great team. Saints, they're not a fantastic team like you guys said at 8-8, but Extra motivation, you always have to go with the team that has something to play for, in my opinion. So I'm going to agree with you guys. I'm going to go with the Saints -4.5. Let's talk about the New York Jets traveling to take on the Buffalo Bills in the biggest spread of the week, 17 points. Buffalo is a favorite at home.
This line is so big it frightens me, even though it is just the Jets. The Bills, they need to win, so they're going to play all their starters, and they're going to play hard, but Josh Allen needs to get it going. He had a very bad game last week, throwing 3 INTs. See the Jets playing well again. Hey, they nearly topped Tom Brady last week, and keeping it closer than the spread indicates. So I'm going to take those Jets 16.5 plus.
Okay, yes, the Jets kept up with the Bucs, but I feel like there were a lot of circumstances that went into that. The Bills are more complete, more motivated, and don't forget, they won 45-17 in the matchup earlier this season. Might be a repeat performance. I like the Bills to dominate here.
This one's tough with me, but anytime I see 17 points in the NFL, it instantly scares me because the Bills, can they beat the Jets by 17 or more? Absolutely. But will they? I don't know. The Jets' young quarterback and some of the core, I feel like they just don't want to go out and get embarrassed. So I'm going to go with the Jets +17. Are they going to win? Who knows? It's the Bills. They're really good at losing games that they need to win. So I like the Jets +17. New England Patriots. They are a 7-point favorite taking on the Miami Dolphins, who are 8-8. But it's good for them because they have a chance to be either 8-9 or 9-8 and not finish 8-8 for who knows how many years in a row.
The Dolphins had their long win streak. Was it 7 games? Was it 8 games? See, nobody cares. Anyway, that streak was snapped, just like Tom Brady's leg in 2007. Miami has been eliminated from playoff contention, and the Patriots, well, they still got plenty to play for, including a shot at that number 1 seed in the AFC. So I'm taking Billy B. That's right. That's his new nickname. He's going to cover closing out 2022.
This game could have more on the line than you think. The Patriots still have a chance at the division, and the Dolphins could play spoiler to a division rival. They would like that. And the Dolphins beat the Patriots the first time around in the first game of the season. Add in the fact that rumors are swirling that Brian Flores could be in the hot seat in Miami, and we could have a very competitive game on hand here. I'll lean towards the Patriots on defense alone, and I can see it going either way, though.
I'm going to go with the Patriots as well, -7-1, because they're just a better team. 2, I like Billy B. 3, I still can't say the Dolphins quarterback name correctly. So all those factored in, I'm going Patriots -7. Let's talk about the Carolina Panthers, and they're going to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is an 8-point favorite at home.
This line was halved, basically, opening at 16.5, but has since dropped down to 8 as the Bucs are out of the number 1 seed talk in the NFC, and it's shrunk down, as Matt said, to -8. Bruce Arians will likely rest all of his starters, most of them anyway, probably because he wants them to be okay for the playoffs, but also because he doesn't want any of them to quit at halftime and walk out of the stadium. Bucs are great at home, and just how different is this game going to be, though, with all those starters sitting? Tough to bet, but I would take the Panthers +8 if pressed.
Look, the Panthers have lost 6 in a row now, and I'd like to point out that they've lost by 8 or more points in 5 out of those 6 games. I don't care if the Bucs will rest players. I don't care if Antonio Brown has caused a media frenzy. This game could still be a Bucs win by 2 scores or more, and if that happens, that might be the final straw and cost Matt Rule his job, unfortunately.
If I was Antonio Brown, I would have kind of looked ahead and said, you know what? We're playing Carolina. P.D. Pablo has a song about Carolina where you take your shirt off and spin it around your head like a helicopter. He could have had P.D. Pablo maybe do the halftime show and then quit spinning his head around his helicopter. But no, he had to do it in New Jersey, of all places. So that's on you. This game, I got to be honest, I don't really care that much. But if you care, I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay because Carolina is that bad and P.D. Pablo is not the halftime show. Let's go with the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. Could be one of the best games of the week with a lot on the line here. Los Angeles Rams is a 4.5-point home favorite.
This game has playoff implications written all over it. The Rams hoping to stay atop the NFC standings. And the Niners, they're playing to get into the playoffs. Watch to see if Jimmy G can play this week. If he can in a late season rivalry game, I'm taking those Niners +6 as they are 6-2 against the spread over their last 8 games.
Yeah, this game could definitely have a lot going for it. I don't even care who's under center for either side, but the Niners really need this win to stay in the playoff race. The Rams have had as shaky of a win streak as we've seen all season of any team. I see this being close. This may even be a Niner win like their earlier matchup. So the Niners for sure here.
It's tough to beat a team twice. The Rams, like you said, they kind of been up and down. I think they not only need this win for themselves to kind of get some momentum going back into playoffs, but I think Stafford really needs a good solid win under his belt here. So I'm going to go with the Rams minus that 4.5 currently. Seattle Seahawks taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Are they back on track after taking out Erica's team, the Dallas Cowboys, last week? But their home favorite, 7.
The Seahawks have nothing to play for, and Arizona's 1-5 in their last 6 games as a favorite. Not very fun game to bet on, but if the Cards, they need to have this one. They needed to have a chance to win that NFC West. And the Seahawks, they're like 3-12 against the spread following a straight-up win over the last 15 games. So I'm taking the Cards to win and to cover here.
Yeah, the Cardinals would probably like to take the division if they can, and I know that the Seahawks are out of it, but I think they would like to play some spoiler. Yes, I like your fact there, Brandon, and I also like the fact that, look, Russell Wilson just hasn't looked well after his surgery, so I like the Cardinals with the points here.
I'm going to go with the Cardinals with the points as well, mainly because Madden, they said that Seattle was going to have an absolute terrible season, so they're going to go with this. In saying that, John Madden passed away, so rest in peace to an absolute legend. I'm going to go with the Arizona minus 7. The last game that we're going to talk about could also be one of the biggest, if not the biggest game of the week. You have the Los Angeles Chargers, the 2.5-point road favorite, taking on the Las Vegas Raiders.
This is probably going to be the game of the week for a lot of reasons. There are 2 spots remaining in the AFC playoffs still up for grabs. The Raiders and the Chargers are 2 of those teams playing for a chance at the playoffs. Now, check this out. You're going to have to follow me here. If the Colts beat the Jags, they're in. But if they lose to the Jaguars, a wacky scenario could happen. Pro Football Network's Adam Beasley reported that with a Colts loss, the Chargers and Raiders could both get into the playoffs if they tied each other in the regular season finale. Now, that said, both teams will have plenty incentive to win. The winner gets the number 6 seed in the AFC. And of course, the NFL CBA is prohibiting owners and organizations from colluding with each other, but it would be fun to see. Now, after a wild NFL season, that's not out of the realm of possibilities to happen. That said, after moving to Vegas, back to reality, the Raiders are 3-5 against the spread at home this season. I don't like them here, and I'm taking the Chargers to win and to cover.
This is the game of the week for me as well, and I think it'll be much better than the first time they met up this season, where the Chargers won 28-14. The emergence of Zay Jones is me leaning kind of towards the Raiders here. I know they've been inconsistent. Chargers have kind of been inconsistent as well, but I truly think that this is a toss-up no matter who you think the better team is. There's too much on the line and too much of a division rivalry for it to be anything other than a great game to end this season.
Yeah, I like the Chargers here as well. Second-year quarterback just set the franchise record for most passing touchdowns. He's a stud. But Raiders quarterback Carr has a beard, and typically I always side with the beards, but I just can't do it here. And the only thing that I do wish is I kind of wish the NFL would have played this game at the same time as the Colts game just to avoid anything. Are they going to intentionally tie? No. I wish they kind of, historically they would always play games that had similar meanings with each other. Kind of wish they would have did it, but I know why they played this as the late game with the most meaning to it. So, with all that being said, I'm going to go with the Chargers with our locks of the week. If for whatever reason you just skipped ahead on the tab and went right to the locks of the week, let's go back and watch the rest of it. But if you want to start us off with your locks of the week,
I'm taking the Chiefs to cover, Washington to cover against the Giants, and the Jets plus 16.5 against the Bills.
I like the Colts over the Jaguars, no matter what the spread is. I like the Lions to maybe beat the Packers, at least maybe cover, make it really, really close. I like the Washington football team over the Giants.
Maybe in there. That doesn't sound like a lock.
oh,
Maybe win, but definitely make it close.
Gotcha.
Well played. I'm going to go with Indy minus 15. I'm going to go with the red hot against the spread Lions plus 3, and I'm going to go with the Chargers minus 2.5. Our unanimous lock of the week, the team that we think is going to win no matter what, is Washington minus 6.5 against those terrible New York Giants. And there you have it. Our last NFL season picks and predictions. And this has been a blast. I do look forward to jumping in and doing this again for the playoffs. With that being said, if you guys want a little more of us after the playoffs, you guys can follow us on all the social medias. I am Matt, but I go by Beard Laws on the social medias.
I'm Brandon J. McDermott at Brandon J. McDermott.
And I'm Matt Brown at the Ohana Jones.
Good luck, everybody. We'll be back next week for some playoff picks and predictions for you guys. So have a great one. Good luck, and we'll see you later.